Welcome to ARC 135. I'm your instructor, Doug Pearson. You can find my contact information on the D2L course page. The best way to get a hold of me is through email. You can either go to my email at dougprsn9@gmail.com, or you can click Contact Instructor on the D2L course page. Week 1 of this course, we're going to talk about history of building codes and the philosophy behind their use. Building codes provide a minimum construction standard to ensure quality construction that is safe for occupants. The earliest known building code goes back to 1772 BC, where the Hebrew Bible stipulated that parapets must be constructed on all houses to prevent people from falling off. I'm sure you know what a parapet wall is. It's pretty common construction in flat roofs today. It's a little stub wall anywhere from a foot to 3 foot high on the roof of a building. The first code in the United States started in the city of Baltimore after the Great Fire in Baltimore in 1904. The city established a minimum building code standard to improve fire safety and reduce combustibility of commercial and residential structures. The Handbook of Baltimore City Building Laws was published in 1904, and it was again updated in a formal building code in 1908. Here in Pennsylvania, the Pennsylvania Construction Code Act, Act 45 of 1999, established a state building code. The Uniform Construction Code, or UCC, or also referred to as the PUCC, or the Pennsylvania Uniform Construction Code, must be applied or complied with in all jurisdictions of Pennsylvania. Currently, 90% of all municipalities in the state of Pennsylvania have adopted the Pennsylvania Uniform Construction Code. It first took effect in 2004 with the adoption of the International Construction Code and their International Code of Standards from 2003. Building codes were adopted to reduce the catastrophic failures of buildings causing injury and loss to property. They include every aspect of construction: structural, electrical, plumbing, heating, ventilation, air conditioning, accessibility for people with mobility issues, fire protection, egress routes, fire rating on materials, building envelope, windows, doors, building facade. And Pennsylvania also has a separate section for the energy code. Every aspect of construction industry is regulated by building codes. Some states have special code considerations. New Orleans, the state of Louisiana, have special flood protections in their uniform building code. The state of California has special considerations to help reduce damage during earthquakes. You need to be familiar with this, whatever state you work in. You need to be familiar with the differences to your particular state. Many states adopt special considerations. As I mentioned, the Pennsylvania Building Energy Codes is separate from the International Building Code. In addition, some sections of the International Building Code were not adopted by the state of Pennsylvania. Here's some examples. This is a house in New Orleans. Obviously, that is not code compliant way to build a foundation and protect against flood damage. Here's a structural code violation showing the joists are not tight in the beam. There's some electrical code violations. Those terminations are not in a junction box. Another electrical code violation showing improper termination of wire. The picture on the right is stairs. Steps all have to be uniform with a 812 rise over run. The International Building Code was created to establish a minimum building standard for which construction, regardless of which state the project is. The International Building Code is then adopted by most states. As I mentioned, Pennsylvania has adopted the International Building Code. These links you need to go to as part of your homework assignment. The first link is the enforcement of the Pennsylvania Uniform Building Code. The second link is actually an index of all the different sections of the Pennsylvania Uniform Building Code. This is an excerpt from the first website, right from the Pennsylvania Uniform Building Code, talking about the statewide building code, generally known as Uniform Construction Code, and enforcement of the UCC, which began in 2004. The codes and standards enforced under the UCC, the administration and enforcement of the UCC, As I mentioned, over 90% of Pennsylvania's 2,562 municipalities have elected to administer and enforce the UCC locally, using their own employees via certified third-party agencies. Many small towns will hire consultants to be their code enforcement officers, so they don't have to hire a full-time building inspector. Certified third-party agencies are hired by property owners or their contractors to enforce residential requirements of the UCC. In all opt-out municipalities, that means the municipalities have chosen not to enforce them with themselves. Detailed information about these agencies can be accessed by clicking some of the links on the website that I've given you. This is a YouTube video you need to watch as part of your homework assignment. It goes through the Pennsylvania Uniform Construction Code and some explanation as to its enforcement and applicability. So to wrap up the three concepts in week one, building codes provide minimum construction standards to ensure quality construction that is safe for all occupants. Building codes are adopted to reduce catastrophic failures of buildings causing injury and loss to property. And the International Building Code is created to establish a minimum building standard for all construction, regardless of which state the project is in.